Today's episode is brought to you in part by Next Generation Speakers Magazine. Next Generation Speakers Magazine is a magazine dedicated to showcasing the next generation of speakers. And this month we're highlighting the Grind Awards put on by Daryl and Lynn Campbell, and they show you how they were grinding it out, honoring small business owners. You want to check out the article in the magazine, and there's a video recap that you don't want to miss. We also have another butterfly effect by none other than Dr. LaDonya Vet, and she showed you how faith, focus, and flow go together. You want to read her article in the magazine. We also have another Co-Sign Your Significance by none other than Shauna Dennis, and she showed you how beautiful things can be out of place. You want to read her article. And we're also getting ready for our Become the Best You event, which is going to be held in St. Louis in February. You want to check out the article in the magazine and click on the link to get the tickets. So listen, in order to read the magazine, go to SacconiPrince.com/NGS Magazine. But to be in the magazine, go to SacconiPrince.com/NGS Magazine-2.
At an early age, Dr. LaDonya Vet has been fascinated with butterflies. During some of the darkest moments in her life, they would mysteriously show up, bringing her comfort and reassurance. Through this magical connection and her international initiatives, she has become known as the Global Butterfly Princess.
So what did I do? How can I pull through all of this? I really had to pull in my strength as who I am, as a person of someone who inspires other people. I had to really pull that energy and pour it into myself to survive all of these things.
I've watched her work for about 6 to 7 years. I've watched her fight. I watched her wisdom. I watched her strategy, and actually more important, everything she does is about other people. She always made sure that other people have what they need.
The way I know LaDonya Vet is I met her at an empowerment conference that she was giving. It was like God put somebody in my life that I needed.
She is an amazing entrepreneur. She's an amazing coach. If you're thinking about working with her, I would highly suggest.
Alrighty. Oh, coming up to the stage next, and I hope I'm not looking at the notes, but ladies and gentlemen, this is my buddy. This is my friend. I don't even need to look at no notes. Guess what? I'm from Mobile, Alabama, and I know a lot of people say that, but I really am. And so is Sacconi Prince. He's a big deal in Mobile. Dr. Sacconi Prince, I call him the doctor because he is a doctor by many rights. Dr. Sacconi Prince says that he will help you, introduce you to yourself. Introduce you to yourself. Not only that, but he's also into media. If you haven't seen his videos, you need to go to his Facebook page, Sacconi Prince. Does anybody know another Sacconi Prince? Another person by the name of Sacconi? He's the only one. He's a one of a kind. And with that being said, let me bring my one of a kind friend, Mr. Sacconi Prince, to the stage.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. All the way up. I'm all the way up. I'm all the way up. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. No. All right. Listen, I want y'all to give it up for Frankie Beverly from Maine. I am so excited to be here today. I want to challenge everybody in this room. I want you to think about your limits. Think about them. Financial limits, emotional limits, relationship limits. I want you to think about those limits. Okay, are you thinking about them? If you all say something, say yes. Okay, all right. Now, what I want you to do, once you've identified and found those limits, I want you to tell them goodbye. Because what I want you to do is I want you to pass your limits. So many of us put ourselves in positions to where we can only do so much. And the problem with that is that there's more in us than what we're actually putting out into the world. Most of the times our limits are based on the story that we've been telling ourselves, or someone else has told us about our childhood and the things that we've gone through. But if you truly understand your capability, if you truly knew your capacity, you will see the responsibility that comes along with that. I posted a couple of weeks ago, the bravest thing you can do is to heal from your hurt. I'm going to say that again for those that are taking notes, and you may want to write that down because it's true. The bravest thing you can do is heal from your hurt. Because your hurts put limits on you. You only go so far, and I can't go past that because it hurts. Muhammad Ali said that he didn't start counting until it started hurting. So I don't care how many push-ups he was doing, how many pull-ups he was doing, or how many miles he was running. He didn't start counting until it was hurting. He found his limits, and he told them goodbye. He went past his limits. Some of you in this room have yet to fully experience what life looks like with no limits. And I understand. Believe me, I've had my own challenges in my own life. I've limited myself in so many areas. But what I realized too is that I could go past them. I realized that they were holding me back. I realized the life I was living was not one that was the best possible version of myself. So what I had to do is I had to find my limits and I had to tell it goodbye. Some of y'all are limited in your ability to love. You're limited in your ability because you were hurt. I shared a couple of months ago, if you imagine your life as being a bucket, and on the side of the bucket, there was a hole. Now, I don't care how big or how tall the bucket is, no matter what you pour in the bucket, it can only fill up to that hole, because once it gets to that hole, guess what? It pours out. Now, some of us, we have holes at the bottom of our life. Some of us have holes in the middle. Some of us even have holes close to the top. And we have different buckets, emotional buckets, financial buckets. But we are limited because of the holes. The holes are what hurts. But if you ever work on plugging that hole, the capacity that the bucket could actually hold, you could actually love more. You could actually live a better life. And the thing of it is that if you're doing it for somebody else, if you're doing it to satisfy somebody else, to make somebody else happy, when they've turned their back, when they've moved out of state, when they've passed on, you're going to go right back to the same lifestyle. But you have to do it for yourself. I was sharing yesterday with Dr. Shea and Kevin Wilson that someone told me, and I mean, she summed this up, and I could not come up with a better definition of what I do. She told me, she said, Sakoni, you don't have a gospel of salvation. She says you have a gospel of self-worth. And when she told me that, I was like, that's it. Because when you understand your worth, you don't limit what it is you can do based upon what somebody else thinks or don't think, what somebody else likes or don't like. When you are living your life because you know that you have more in you, when you're living your life because you know that you are worth more than what your checking account says, than what you're being paid on your job, when you know that you're worth more than how you're being treated in a relationship, whether it's parent to child, whether it's husband to wife, whether it's cousins, family members, aunts, uncles, when you know your self-worth, you don't limit yourself. And that's what I really want everybody to understand, that you have an amazing opportunity to impact this world. There is somebody that is waiting for you to show up. The problem is our limits, our hurts, our holes. We have holes of insecurities. What are they going to say? What are they not going to say? Are they going to clap for me? Are they going to not clap for me? Dr. Reuben West told us that, are you about the cause or are you about the applause? Because when people stop clapping, some folks go home. They throw their hand up, they peace out. But if you have a cause that's worth it, and by the way, you're worth it, you won't stop until you've achieved your maximum potential. So I want you to, I mean, if there's anything that I can say I am passionate about, it's helping people to understand their own capability. Some people think that I actually sat with a marketing firm and paid them millions of dollars to come up with my slogan. I'm Sakona Prince of SakonaPrince.com, where we make motivation personal by introducing you to yourself. I mean, that's $1 million slogan, and I didn't pay anybody for that. God gave it to me because he helped me to understand that when you really know who you are, like my theme song, nothing can stop me. So my question to you is this: do you really know your capabilities? Do you really know your limits? Have you experienced life to the fullest? And if the answer is no, my question is why? What's holding you back? What's keeping you from going beyond where you are right now? Financially, relationships, mentally, emotionally, what's holding you back? Because if you don't address that, it's always going to drag on you. And you're wondering, why is everybody else running past me? Well, you got your luggage that you're dragging behind you. How can that person do? They graduated after I did, but how is that because they found their limits and they passed them. So, and I will say this, going back to my quote, the bravest thing you can do is heal from your hurt. It's scary. It's scary. But you wouldn't do it if it wasn't worth it. That's why you have to know I have a better life on the other side of this. I have a better life on the other side of it. And because of that, I'm willing to go through this process to get to where I know I need to be. Again, if you don't think you're worth it, I don't care. Anybody can come on this stage and say anything, and it's not going to do you any good. Because you're going to see, that's not for me. I can't do that. Why would I do that? Why would I step up? Why would I step out? Why would I show up? But if you understand your worth, if you understand the reason that your heart is beating in your chest, if you understand the impact that you can make on somebody close to you. I've told this story several times, and now it's a good time to plug this in. Several years ago, I was having a conference. It was my first conference. And whether fortunately or unfortunately, I had it less than a mile from my house. I mean, literally, it was like a 3-minute drive from my house to the hotel. And of course, evidently, I forgot something. So I had to run to the house to grab it. And my 10-year-old son, he said, "Hey, Dad, can I ride with you?" I was like, "Yeah, son, come on." And while we're in the car, I'm just thinking, I'm like, okay, I can only go home one time. I can't come back. I need to get whatever it is I'm going to get and be right back. And while I'm going over my mind everything I need to get while I'm there, without having a conversation, without being prompted. My son, 10 years old at the time, he's 15 today. He looked at me and he said, "Dad, I'm proud of you." Now, although I was driving like a madman, trying to get there and get back, I stopped, not driving, but on the inside. I stopped because I realized he's watching me. There's somebody that's close to you that knows the hell that you're going through, and they are watching you. They are looking to you for inspiration. They are looking to you to help them get up. Because they say, if she can do it, God knows I can. If he can keep going, I can. So when you consider where you are right now versus where you want to be, just know for a fact that you can get there. It's altogether possible. The question is, are you willing to go through the process? But even before you go through the process, you have to answer the question, am I worth it? I'm not talking about it. Am I worth it? Am I worth being on a stage? Am I worth talking to people and sharing people and making motivation personal by introducing them to yourself? Am I worth it? Because once you answer that question again, nobody can stop you. Nobody can keep you locked in. Whether there are 2 people or 200 people, you will still pour into them because you care about them. I'm going to finish with this. I was on the National Men's Prayer Call a couple of months ago. Excuse me. And we were talking about consistency. But I told them, I said, look, in fact, consistency is the second leg of a 4-leg race. They were like, man, what are you talking about? I said, well, like before you can be consistent about anything, you have to be committed. Because without commitment, there is no consistency. If you show me somebody that's consistent about something, they made a commitment somewhere. They made a commitment. So before you can even talk about consistency, where's your commitment? And what are you committed to? So, okay, you got your commitment, great. Now what? It shows up in your consistency. Come hell or high water. You continue to keep going, even in spite of what it looks like, how you feel, because you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for somebody else. But if you stay consistent over time, you can't help but be successful. Commitment over time gives you consistency. Consistency over time gives you success. So what does success over time give you? A legacy. A legacy. What do you become known for? Michael Jordan, cut from his high school basketball team. If he wasn't committed, his name wouldn't be synonymous with one of the greatest basketball players in history. He was committed. That commitment led to his consistency, working on his craft, even when people didn't know his name, even when he didn't have shoes named after him. And then he became successful. And that success left a legacy. So my question to you is this. When you look at your life, what do you want to be known for? What do you want people to think of when your name is mentioned? What do you want the impact of your life to have? Because that's going to be the fuel that actually drives your commitment, that drives your consistency, that gives you that level of success that leaves a legacy. And once you've done that, You have left a trail for others to follow. You've left an example for people to say, I can't give up. I saw what she did. I saw how she did. I can't quit. I can't stop. Because I saw him. In spite of the fact that he wasn't feeling well, he still got up. He still went. I want you to look at yourself. I want you to think about your limits. I want you can even hug them and embrace them. But then I want you to tell them goodbye. Because you're going to live beyond them. You're going to find new limits. And if you need some help, like Dr. Kathy Barton Brown said, get some, please. Because the life that you're missing out on is worth every minute of it. And again, it can't just be for someone else. It has to be for you. And I know you're saying, well, Sakona, why are you getting so emotional? Because when I look out in this audience, I see people that have limits they placed on themselves. And I know where you could be if you just take them off. I know where you can be if you just let them go. I used to have a stuttering problem. I said goodbye to that. I used to have trust issues. I said goodbye to those. What are you going to say goodbye to? What are you going to say goodbye to? That's for you to determine. That's for you to make a commitment so you can be consistent, so you can have success, and you can leave a legacy. Listen, that's my time. Thank you so much, and nothing can stop you.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. All the way up. I'm all the way up.